whether or not you're using SellerSnap, biased opinion, come use SellerSnap. Like we want you with us.
Yeah, that's super important. Like SellerSnap is the repricer that I recommend, but when it makes sense for people.
Let's be honest, everyone who we've talked to that has SellerSnap has always said like amazing things of SellerSnap.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome back to the Doughboys podcast, where we talk all things Amazon FBA and business. I'm your host, Logan, joined today by my lovely, studly co-host, Cisco. And today we have a special guest, Ian from SellerSnap. How are you guys doing?
What's happening? Doing all right. Chiro, work at SellerSnap. We're an Amazon repricer, and we'll get into that just a little bit. I've been working in e-commerce, for the better part of a decade. Started out working in a warehouse in a family business, packing boxes and taking returns like that, kind of as a summer job, and did that for a bunch of summers, and then took a big break off, and maybe 10 years later, I found myself in kind of the tech world, and more specifically the Amazon space. And I've been here for working at SellerSnap for about 5 years now, helping Amazon sellers with their FBA businesses, really try to focus on profit and profit margin and increasing that bottom line.
So for someone who's completely new to Amazon or maybe just getting started, what exactly is repricing and why is it so important?
That's a great question. So for anyone that's ever bought anything on Amazon before, we can picture the listing page in our head, right? You have that photo on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, you have the price, and you have the options that are add to cart and buy now. And that specific spot is the buy box. And why is that important? The buy box is important because, anyone that's probably watching this podcast understands that, I might be sourcing a product, but Logan and Cisco might have the same product. And so what's going to happen is Amazon has to decide in one way or the other who gets the sale when we press add to cart or buy now. And so there's a bunch of different metrics in there on how Amazon chooses who gets into the buy box. And behind that is usually different technologies such as SellerSnap and other third-party repricers kind of duking it out with algorithms and strategies in order to get them in the buy box. And the reason why this is so important is because something like 80 or 85% of all sales from Amazon go through the buy box. And when we're talking about sales from mobile devices, cell phones and tablets, that number jumps even higher. So it's really important as a strategy when I'm selling a good that's not my own brand, that is not private label, but that other people can sell, that getting the buy box and capturing the buy box is part of my business strategy and my day-to-day.
Yeah, absolutely. Just yesterday, I recorded a video for my YouTube channel, step-by-step, how to sell on Amazon from opening your account to collecting profits. And I included repricing as its own complete step because it's just so important, so crucial to your success on Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I think, in the industry, one of the first things that we always recommend to get is always keep, of course, and then a repricer as well to kind of keep it competitive with everyone. Kind of looking at SellerSnap, something that has been mentioned with SellerSnap is using game theory. Can you kind of explain what game theory is and how you guys use that to the elite repricer in the industry?
Sure. I'd be happy to jump into that. What SellerSnap is that we are, as you mentioned, an AI game theory repricer. In short, what that means to us is that we take a cooperative approach to getting the buy box at the highest possible price by avoiding price wars. The idea behind the game theory comes from, if anyone's familiar with the prisoner's dilemma, I should be much better at this than I am, but in short, it's when there's two prisoners in jail and they're told that if they basically rat each other out, that both get a reduced sentence, but they're still going to be in jail. But if they both stay quiet, then they both get freed. And so the idea is that there's, as humans, as businesses, trying to be competitive and being, selfish, that there's higher possibilities of us just taking the easy way out and saying, I'll take a lower sentence and try to get out earlier instead of trusting that my partner over there is going to keep quiet. And so that's directly correlated to what we call a price war. And so what a price war is some people refer to penny dropping, is when there's two competitors on a listing and they're both exchanging blows, undercutting each other by a penny till they bottom out the price. And at that point, everybody loses. We're cutting into our profits, cutting into our profit margins. And so where SellerSnap comes into play is that we see that this is happening. And we'll notice that that competitor is attached to our price because they're attached to our price minus a penny. What we'll do is we'll move up in price, let them move up with us, and then we'll re-engage, let them undercut us, we'll undercut them until the repricer thinks that it gets too low, at which point it will move back up. And then we'll kind of restart that cycle. And so the result is we're getting the same amount of buy box share in either scenario, but with SellerSnap, we're getting it at a higher price point.
Absolutely. Just yesterday, I recorded a video for my YouTube channel, step by step, how to sell on Amazon from opening your account to collecting profits. And I included repricing as its own complete step because it's just so important, so crucial to your success on Amazon.
I think, the industry, one of the first things that we always recommend to get is always keep of course, and then a repricer as well to kind of keep you competitive with everyone. Kind of looking at SellerSnap, something that has been mentioned with SellerSnap is using game theory. Can you kind of explain what game theory is and how you guys use that to be kind of the elite repricer in the industry?
Sure. I'd be happy to jump into that. What SellerSnap is that we are, as you mentioned, an AI game theory repricer. And in short, what that means to us is that we take a cooperative approach to getting the buy box at the highest possible price by avoiding price wars. The idea behind the game theory comes from, if anyone's familiar with the prisoner's dilemma, I should be much better at this than I am, but in short, it's when there's two prisoners in jail and they're told that if they basically rat each other out, that they can both get a reduced sentence, but they're still going to be in jail. But if they both stay quiet, then they both get freed. And so the idea is that there's, as humans, as businesses, trying to be competitive and being, selfish, that there's higher possibilities of us just taking the easy way out and saying, I'll take a lower sentence and try to get out earlier instead of trusting that my partner over there is going to keep. And so that's directly correlated to what we call a price war. And so what a price war is when some people refer to penny dropping, is when there's two competitors on a listing and they're both exchanging blows, undercutting each other by a penny till they bottom out the price. And at that point, everybody loses. We're cutting into our profits, cutting into our profit margins. And so where SellerSnap comes into play is that we see that this is happening. And we'll notice that that competitor is attached to our price because they're attached to our price minus a penny. What we'll do is we'll move up in price, let them move up with us, and then we'll re-engage, let them undercut us, we'll undercut them until the repricer thinks that it gets too low, at which point it will move back up. And then we'll kind of restart that cycle. And so the result is we're getting the same amount of buy box share in either scenario, but with SellerSnap, we're getting it at a higher price point.
That's awesome. Anytime someone asks me how SellerSnap works, I tell them I don't understand the details, but it's just magic. It's gonna help you get those sales, but at a higher price. So that analogy is really, really solid.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's SellerSnap is definitely highly regarded as one of the elite repricers in the industry for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that I talk about a lot with Amazon sellers of all sizes, and I'm talking, enterprise businesses all the way down to the people slanging, whatever they can get their hands on out of the garage, right? And the main thing is that it's important to find something that's the right fit for your business at the right time for you. And so I know that this show in general covers a whole slew of Amazon sellers. I think one of the things that I'm trying to get across is we need a repricer to operate our business. And whether or not you're using SellerSnap, biased opinion, come use SellerSnap. We want you with us. But if you don't have a repricer, go find one. There's a whole bunch of competitors on the market that will fit your need at your place in your Amazon journey.
Yeah, that's super important. SellerSnap is the repricer that I recommend, but when it makes sense for people. It is the best on the market in my opinion, but it's also, as far as I know, the most expensive. So when you're deciding what repricer to go with, you need to really understand the needs of your business and the amount that you can afford.
Exactly. I think, starting off with a different repricer when you're first starting out is probably ideal. But then as your business grows, kind of upgrading to SellerSnap is definitely the best kind of path there.
Yep.
Just because, I mean, let's be honest, everyone who we've talked to that has SellerSnap has always said like amazing things of SellerSnap. And I've never met someone who's gone to SellerSnap and then reverted back to another repricer. I've seen it like the opposite way where they kind of toggle between one competitor to another competitor. They're like, okay, maybe I like this one better for X reason, but never with SellerSnap. If you have SellerSnap, you kind of never go back.
So Ian, in your opinion, when do you think is a good time for somebody to upgrade their repricer and move over to SellerSnap?
Man, Logan, I was about to ask you the same question because you're the one that did it.
Yeah.
I think when we're talking about solutions to our business problems, everyone's going to find that you need to focus on, one or two business solution or business problems at a time and then find solutions, or else you kind of have a lot of things going on. And so when it comes to repricing, when should someone move to SellerSnap is when you have enough inventory and enough turnover to make it make sense. Because we do have, a few different pricing tiers. Our main ones are, our standard and our premium model, which start at $800, $500 a month. And then we have our accelerator model for growing businesses. And we have customers come in at all the different tiers, which means that they are all choosing different times during their Amazon journey and how they operate their businesses to decide, okay, this is the time that I want to level up. Because this is something that is an integral part of your business, requires some processes to be in place, some decisions to be made. And so you need to have the focus. So it's important that, what I say is when you're ready, when you have the turnover, you can start thinking about it. But it doesn't mean just because you have the inventory, just because you're bringing in all this capital that like right now is the right time, because you also need to have the time to set up and to focus and to put these new processes in place and make these decisions as well.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any data on what kind of monthly sales is the most common that somebody joins SellerSnap, or is it really all over the place?
It's really all over the place. I had a meeting a few weeks ago when we're seeing that on the different tiers, with our premium model, we're seeing sellers being anywhere from $80,000 a month and up, and that's reoccurring. So these are sellers not that like have a peak in December, right? But these are consistent sellers that can do 80, 100K a month in January in the hard times, right? The standard model we see kind of at that 50, 60 and up. And then our accelerator has actually a threshold. So you have to be under 25K a month in order to be eligible for that large discount that we provide. And we see everybody I saw somebody who was making $1,000 last week, but they have a plan in place in order to accomplish it. And I think that again, that's not typical, but it's a business decision because they know that they have inventory inbound and they're trying to put this process in place beforehand. But it's not something I would always suggest because honestly, like I speak to sellers like that all the time, and sometimes I'm like, look, this isn't the right time for you. And it's not that I'm trying to push people away or I'm trying to make people feel bad. It's that we want our sellers to be successful and we want to set up our clients for success. And that's not by trying to like just make sales and just make quotas at the end of the month. We really want to implement a platform that's going to be, again, an integral part of your business for a long, long time.
I really love everything that you said just because it seems like you guys are putting the seller first and making sure that they have a great positive experience because to your point, if you just took anybody at anywhere, then it could lead to a bad experience and then not so great reviews for SellerSnap. So I think as a seller that intrigues me more to want to go with SellerSnap because I can see that you guys put us first and kind of being the right fit for us at the right time. And then the price points that you were kind of mentioning, that actually did resonate with me, because I was just thinking to myself while you were talking, like, okay, when would be a good price point? And I feel like once like a seller starts to incorporate a prep center, which is typically around that 30 to 50K mark or so, is when you would probably want to start, with SellerSnap and start using that more elite repricer to start having that turnover. You're already speeding up the process with a prep center, and now you got to speed up the sales as well to have that quicker turnover.
Hitting the nail on the head for us, right? Because when we're talking about operating businesses, like no one wants to operate a business going paycheck to paycheck. We want to make sure that we are scaling a business, increasing revenue, but more importantly, increasing profit. And with our price point, especially with the standard package, where the majority of our customers live, I would say that probably 70 or 80% of our customers live under the standard plan. For that price point, it's $16 a day. And so that goes back to my point. And I think, Cisco, what you're saying is, when you have a prep center, it means you have more inventory, you have more turnover. With that, if I have, 16 sales a day, that means I only need to make an extra dollar on every single item in order to cover SellerSnap for that day. If I sell 32 items a day, that means I only need to make 50 cents an item on top of what I've been making in order to cover it. And so I think that oftentimes we have this mindset when we're operating businesses about like what is scalable and where should I put my investment, and we're like, oh, this price tag is for this thing is here, and I need to make this decision because of it. And I think that sometimes it's important to look at it a different way and say, okay, what is the cost? What is the cost of it, and what is the potential benefit of having something like this in the long run?
So my take on when someone's to switch to SellerSnap is when they're around like 20 to 25K a month, because you mentioned you guys have that accelerator program. So I think if you see your business growing and you're selling around 20 to 25K, you should get in with them at that cheaper price point, because it cuts the price in half. Plus you combine a discount code and you can get it for like around $220 a month, which is obviously a lot cheaper, and still take full advantage of all the amazing systems that SellerSnap has.
The best part about that program, that we lock in that price for you for a minimum of 6 months. And so if you get in at, $24,999 and you're eligible for the program and you sign up, and then the next month you double that revenue, we're not automatically saying, oh, we're bumping you to the next tier. You have an additional, whatever it is, 5.5 months to take advantage of that. And so, which is part of our ethos. It's like providing real tools for scaling your business. We're not trying to be like a revenue-based, we don't have revenue-based pricing where the more you make, the more we make. It's a flat fee. And the reason we charge what we charge is because we know we're worth it, but we want sellers to grow with us, which is the purpose of that program.
So Ian, could you talk a bit about some of the cool features that SellerSnap has? Like, I know one that I really like is that you guys don't reprice within reduced profit ranges. So that, and then any other cool features you want to bring up?
Great question. There's a whole slew of features that I love. So I'll try to be concise with all of them. So the first one is that we'll go over, Logan, just because you brought it up, is the reduced profit range. And in short, the reduced profit range is connected directly to Amazon referral fees, right? Because each category has a certain percentage that you have to pay Amazon in commission. And then within those categories, we have referral fee changes and steps. So for example, I believe it's grocery has, I think it's an 8% fee at $10, and then above $10, it's a 15% fee. And really what that means is that at $10, I am making more money than if I sell at $10.01, right? Because as soon as I go to $10.01, it's 15%, which means Amazon is taking a bigger cut. And so what that means for SellerSnap users is that when we're using the AI technology, we are avoiding that reduced profit range. And so we're saying, for this category at anything between 10.01 and the end of that range, which I don't remember off the top of my head, avoid that so we can take home the maximum amount. And so that goes for certain categories, small and light, feed promotions, and anything else where that referral fee can change from time to time.
That's crazy how kind of like in depth of a look it is. Just because a lot of the other repressors are just kind of rule based, so you kind of just set your own rules and it just kind of goes there. But you guys have really kind of dove in deep and been seems like very meticulous in the details of being, like you said, profitable.
Another thing that I really like about SellerSnap is just how easy it is. I've helped several of my friends get started with SellerSnap, and they like have all these questions about how to set it up. But literally, here's what our process looks like. And Ian, you can jump in if maybe we're not being as efficient as we could. But we set a store-wide minimum markup. So SellerSnap has our cost of goods. We have a minimum of around 20% markup. So SellerSnap automatically calculates that. Then our max is set to automatically go with dynamic max price, which maybe you can talk a little bit more about that next. And then we just toggle on the flagship AI repricer, and it's that simple. You don't have to set your own rules. They have options to where if you want to make it more fine-tuned, but literally min and max automatically set, automatically turn on the AI, activate your pricing, and you're good to go.
Those are the three things that you need: min, max, and turn on repricing. And when you're using the tools such as the tiered markup and the and DMP or dynamic max price, as we'll get into in a sec, it provides one less step to make. And I think to take that one step further, what a lot of sellers are working on now is making sure that we have all of our platforms, all the different tools that we pay for, are talking to each other. So, for example, one of our most popular integrations is Inventory Lab. And so you have an ability to just set up that integration between SellerSnap and Inventory Lab. We pull in that cost data for you. We pull in the fees, the referral fees, the FBA fees. We take into account the rules that Logan spoke about, for example, the markup at 20%, whatever it is. We run that calculation, and then you have to reprice. And so all that is done while you sleep, leaving you extra time to work on other parts of your business, which is essentially what we're trying to do with any kind of automation. And quickly jumping into DMP, and I won't spend too much time with that, but the DMP stands for Dynamic Max Price. And basically, the story goes back to 2020 during the height of the pandemic, when Amazon came in and threw all these rules at us saying, trying to protect the consumers against price gouging on, hand sanitizer and toilet paper and things like that.
All the essentials.
All the essentials. And so what that meant is that sellers that had their price set too high because they were price gouging would get deactivated, meaning you're no active listing, meaning you can't sell, which is a huge problem for sellers, because then if you don't catch it in time, you have inventory just sitting in Amazon's warehouses, not getting moved, racking up storage fees, and it becomes a major problem. Over the past couple of years, what we've done is we've created what's called the dynamic max price. And the dynamic max price looks at a few different factors, such as CPT or competitive price threshold. It looks at the highest competitor on the listing. It looks at historic pricing data, historic sales data. And even if we get deactivated and we reactivate you, what was that highest price that we were at before we got deactivated? Whatever functions that we have available to us, whatever factors we have available to us, and we create that max price. And the idea is that we want to have that max price be at the highest possible price. So when we do move up to max or a portion of our max price, like I spoke about a little bit earlier in our conversation, we move up as far as we can without hurting ourselves by getting deactivated.
Like I'm just running into that issue with some of the ASINs that I'm on right now, where sellers are starting to fall off. So then my current repricer just defaults to the max price, and then it deactivates it, and then I have to go in there and manually change it, update it, undeactivate it, and just add so much more work to it. So that alone it's gnarly. It's crazy.
Well, Cisco, you need to switch to SellerSnap then.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
That'll be the next podcast. We'll get the onboarding live.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll record live the sign up and everything for everyone.
I think that just boils down to a lot of our focus about trying to understand our clients' problems and fix it. Because honestly, we wouldn't have developed that if we didn't have sellers like Logan and all the other SellerSnap users knocking on our door saying, "Hey, this is a problem for me. Please fix it." And so Amazon uses the term voice of the customer, right? And we've kind of adopted part of that, and we want to make sure that we are solving problems in the way we in creative ways by using the technology that we have available.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for watching this episode. Check out the link down below. We'll try and get a special offer for you if you want to sign up with SellerSnap. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thank you, Ian, for joining us.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Thank you, Ian.